Hi there, and a very warm welcome to Season 6, Episode 20 of People Soup. It's Ross McIntosh here.
There have been points along the way where I've had to remind myself, you're doing this because of the love for the topic, the need to understand and hopefully to make a little small dent, because we can all just, individually make small dents in trying to make change, positive change. But if we all did that and we all made small dents, then, the change that we collectively could achieve would be massive.
Pea Soupers, in this episode you'll meet Lucinda Soon. Lucinda is a qualified solicitor and expert in professional ethics, wellbeing and legal services regulation. She's also a PhD candidate at Birkbeck, University of London. Lucinda's People Soup ingredients are curiosity, learning, courage and being of service. You'll hear about her career journey, from practicing law and advising on legal risk management to her transition into academia and empirical research. She discusses her passion for learning, her work on lawyers' well-being, including her doctoral research. Lucinda also talks about her commitment to bridging the gap between academic research and practical application in the legal profession. The conversation delves into key moments in her career, the importance of continual learning, and the value of pursuing a non-linear, squiggly career path. For those of you who are new to People Soup, welcome. It's great to have you here. We aim to provide you with the ingredients for a better work life, from behavioural science and beyond. For those of you who are regular Pea Soupers, thanks for tuning in again. We love it that you're part of our community. A quick scoot over to the news desk. There's another review in for Part 2 with Jessica Lee, which was called Rethinking Leadership Development. And this was on LinkedIn from Beatrice Dowell. Beatrice said, "Know thyself, great podcast, Jess and Ross. Definitely worth a listen for anyone looking to grow and develop in the workplace." And I heartily agree. If you missed that episode, I'd recommend going back to have a listen. In other news, I've mentioned some new offerings for 2025, and I've just launched my open course, Bringing ACT in the Workplace to the Public. It's training I developed with Dr. Paul Flaxman, and I've delivered it to thousands of adults in the workplace. It's for people who are interested in navigating their working lives more effectively. It will help them consider what really matters and what might be getting in the way of them being the person they'd really like to be. If you're a Pea Souper or have trained with me in the past, please think about passing on this opportunity to a friend, colleague or family member. The maximum size of the cohort is 12 people, and it's first come, first served. All the details are via the link in the show notes. So let's crack on. For now, get a brew on and have a listen to the first part of my chat with Lucinda Soon. Lucinda Soon, welcome to People Soup.
Hi, lovely to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, I'm delighted to spend some time with you. And Lucinda, I have a research department, and they've been looking into you and your background, and I've got some stuff to share with the listeners. But you just keep an ear out to check I've got everything right.
Sure.
Okay. So it says here, Lucinda qualified as a solicitor of England and Wales in 2009 and specialises in professional ethics and legal services regulation. She has spent the past decade advising lawyers and law firms on ethics and legal risk management, with corporate clients ranging from startups to established UK, US and global law firms. How's that for a start? Does that sound right?
Yes, no, I think that's fine.
Good. Good. I don't need to reprimand my research department. Let me go on. A legal director in private practice until May 2024, Lucinda now devotes her time equally between academia, empirical research and teaching, and practice, working with legal sector organisations and policymakers on research and consultancy basis. Lucinda received her MSc in psychology with distinction from the University of East London in 2019, graduating top of her cohort. She was awarded the Dean of School Award for Academic Excellence, and her thesis on well-being in the UK solicitor's profession was subsequently published in the International Journal of the Legal Profession. There's more. When I was preparing this, I was thinking, my goodness, Lucinda's such a busy person.
It looks a lot better on paper, I think. Maybe I'm good. Well, let's see.
Let me continue. Lucinda's research interests concern lawyers' ethics, professionalism and well-being. Her doctoral research at Birkbeck, University of London, examines the influence of contextual factors on the well-being of lawyers, integrating theories from psychology, sociology, and employing diverse empirical methods and methodologies. You are a published researcher, and your other research includes a systematic review of lawyers' well-being, published in Psychiatry, Psychology and Law, the first ever review of its kind to map and synthesize the global literature on this topic over the past 50 years, and we'll come back to that. Lucinda also conducts research and lectures at the Dixon Poon School of Law, King's College London, leading the Psychology for Legal Practitioners module on the MSc Law and Professional Practice programme. Alongside her academic research and teaching, Lucinda is an independent researcher and consultant to the legal sector. She works with organisations and policymakers to advance ethical and healthy working environments in law. I've got a little bit more, Lucinda. It says here you're passionate about bridging the academic-practitioner divide and advocates for greater collaboration between the two domains to strengthen the evidence base with practical value in mind. To facilitate the transfer of knowledge from research to practice, she maintains a research database with links to the growing evidence base on the topic of lawyers' well-being. You are also a trustee for Lawcare, the mental health and well-being charity for the UK legal profession, elected co-chair for the International Bar Association, Professional Wellbeing Commission, and an officer of the IBA Academic and Professional Development Committee. Wow. How's that? Does that capture most things?
I think so, yes, thank you.
Now, there's one other thing they noted, Lucinda, which isn't confirmed anywhere. So I just wanted to run it past you because if it's true, I'm a little bit jealous. Well, a lot of bit jealous. But I've heard that in your PhD research, your supervisors are an absolute dream team.
I have the perfect dream team, yes.
Is it true that it's Almouth McDowell and Kevin Teo?
Yes, I know. I'm the luckiest PhD student in the world.
Well, goodness me. I just can't imagine a more wonderful combo.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a dream to have both of them. You know, really, I think when you're doing a PhD, you really want to be learning from like the best, and they're both brilliant. And it's just the learning journey for me, and learning from their experiences, their different angles that they approach things in. It's just, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, I hold them in very, very high regard and have immense affection and admiration for them. So. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, Lucinda, I've told the listener a bit about your achievements, your career, your research, what you're doing right now. But I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about your career path to date, maybe some of the pivotal moments along the way.
Sure. So I have had quite a squiggly path, and I think that's a term, isn't it? Like the squiggly career path. Yeah, it's definitely, I wouldn't say the kind of traditional path perhaps that actually I had in mind when I first started out. And so, I went to law school, did my degree in law, very much kind of the traditional path. Did my, after doing your law degree, if you want to enter practice, you choose kind of whichever path you want to choose. And I chose the solicitor's path. And then I went on to do my, what they call the legal practice course, which is kind of post-grad step towards that. And then did my training contract. Then kind of, that's very traditional in terms of going into practice, and really enjoyed, had a really enjoyable career in legal practice, I would say. And then in 2017, I decided, I various reasons why I thought this, but I really wanted to go back to university to learn, because I think I've always been someone, I just need to keep learning. I mean, I see the beauty in it, the benefits of it, for my own personal well-being as well. Learning is something which I really thrive off. Initially, I chose to go back to university to learn psychology for my own benefit, because it was always something which I've always been interested in, wanted to learn more about, but in a structured way. And I thought, this is what I want to do. So I went to do my master's in psychology. And at that time, I didn't really have any plan or anything about how I was going to use it. It was purely, it was great to be back at university. So much changed. They've had like recorded lectures, which I'd never had, back in my first degree. But it was great. And so I did that and learned all about the different strands of psychology. But at the same time, I kind of did that at the same time that I was working. So I was still practicing as a solicitor, as you said, kind of working in professional ethics, legal services regulation. And it came to the time when I was choosing what I was going to do for my thesis, my master's thesis. And I was always interested in mental health and wellbeing, and also in the legal profession, because it's the profession that I come from. And it so happened at the same time that I was, studying and thinking about what I would do for my thesis, the conversations, the awareness around mental health and wellbeing in the legal profession was rising. And it kind of came at the same time as a big case that came to the High Court around that same time, of Savani James. And it was the first time where the rumblings around the challenges in terms of mental health in the legal profession really came to the front of people's mind, because it was, it came before the High Court, and the High Court really kind of delved into the working environment. So this was a professional disciplinary case. And it caught the mainstream attention. This news had been kind of rumbling along in the legal press, but I think for the first time, I'd say, it made mainstream news, and people were questioning, is the legal profession struggling with mental health and well-being? So I became fascinated in this, because it was something that I was working on in my day job, because it was around professional ethics and regulation. And so I really became very interested in understanding a bit more about this, what factors and looking at it from a psychological perspective, what do we know from the wider psychological knowledge and evidence and theories that we could apply in the legal profession. So that's what I focused on for my thesis. And then after my master's, it was a mixture of, so whenever I do research, I find that I end up having more questions than when I started. I answer some, but then it opens up it's like you're opening up a box and there's more questions that come up. And I thought, I can't stop now, because now I have even more questions. And also I didn't want to leave university. I just, I think I caught the bug of being in that surrounding, research. And so towards the end of my master's, I already had in mind that I wanted to continue, was looking around for PhD. And then I found Almouth and Kevin.
Yay.
And it was I think that was a pivotal moment for me. And I think, I just kind of went from there and then started my PhD with them as my mentors. Still focused on well-being in the legal profession and answering more the questions that I had.
Wow, thank you. So I'm seeing a real love of learning, as you've said, and this curiosity.
Yeah, I'm a very curious person. I've always been, since I was a child.
And talk to us a bit about going back to uni for the love of learning.
I'm not sure I'll be able to articulate it really well enough. I mean, I think with my first degree, this is only my experience, but when I did my first degree, when I was 18, I don't think I reflected as much at the time. I'm doing this to learn. It was seen as something, all my friends were going to university. Well, maybe I should go to university. My parents were very keen on me to go to university. Law seemed a really promising career, and again, I have no regrets. I think law is a brilliant career opportunity for many, but there's something different. I think my second time going to university to learn psychology, because there it was purely, I just wanted to learn the subject, and I don't know, I just felt it was brilliant. It was just, I wish, to be honest, I wish I could go back and just keep doing it and just keep, just kind of cycle round in that space when I was learning psychology for the first time, because psychology is such a interesting topic. There's so many facets to it, so many different subjects within it. And because my master's, it was a conversion course, so obviously the curricula covered all, the breadth of areas that were required by the British Psychological Society. But everything felt so new, everything was exciting, everything was, it's just brilliant. It was a brilliant experience. I keep telling everyone, you should go back to university, learn more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a thing that occurs to a lot of people once you're on that sort of life treadmill. I agree. I think I kind of went to uni because it was kind of expected the first time. And then there's a kind of an expectation you get a job. And it's not as often that people then go back to uni. I say that as someone who went back twice. So I understand, I think. I had that kind of thirst for a bit more knowledge and a bit more
Mm,
research into the different perspectives on things. I did one in human resource management and one on
right.
organizational psychology.
Yeah.
And you're right. I loved that time, actually.
Mm,
And going back as, well, I was going back as a mature student. I think you
mm,
have different things to
yeah.
offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you've had the kind of the experience of life, more, more experiences in terms of the workplace. And it's just the environment as well. I think, in terms of the seminars, the lectures were amazing because you'd just be kind of fed all this knowledge and you're assimilating it and you're thinking, wow, now, I've got more questions. But, the seminars, it was just
Hmm.
wonderful to be around others again, but in that learning environment, kind of bouncing off thoughts and questions. And yeah, it's just a wonderful experience. And I think, I definitely recommend to anyone just going, or, any short course to go back and learn.
Yeah. And you described your squiggly path. I like a squiggly path.
I think it's quite nice as well.
I think people who have a squiggly path, I think they're prepared to explore. So I see you as an explorer. I also see you when I was looking at your bio, I was seeing you as someone who wants to be of service.
No one's ever actually observed that, which is really nice because to me, that's really important to me. Even when I went into law, one of the drivers for me, apart from the fact that it was kind of expected to kind of go down that path, but one of the core drivers for me is that actually, as a lawyer, you provide a service. It's the notions and ideas of you're providing a service, you're providing access to justice, you're all of that combined is something which I've always had in me, and it's always been quite important that I have to have. I think that's been something that's core to whatever I do. That I feel that it's almost like there's a purpose, there's a meaning behind it that's going to be of benefit to people and broader society. And even that drives a lot of the kind of when I think about my research, it's really underpins for me. It's really important that anything that I'm researching, that it goes back to, it goes to the people who I'm researching this for ultimately. So that's a really core strand of me, I think, internally, what I hope for.
Yeah, because I really see the practical nature of your research and the papers you've published already, but also your research database. You're seeking to support people into understanding the link and appreciating the link and using research that could be useful and practical for them.
Yeah, I mean, so the research database that I put together started off as an idea, became a passion, and then now it's a bit of an obsession because it's. But I'm so proud of it because I think when I hear people in practice say, "Oh, I've been on to your research database and I found these studies," and I think it's wonderful because there's so much work that academics put in so much work into creating this knowledge. And I mean, I know it must differ depending on sector, but certainly from my experience of the legal sector, I found that not enough of that knowledge is passing through. And I think it's wonderful that I can help to contribute to that. But it's, it would benefit the legal profession, the legal sector immensely, because otherwise you risk kind of the worst case scenario is you risk thinking that there is nothing at all out there in the world to help with these challenges. And then you think, well, I've got to start from scratch, or you embark on initiatives and strategies which actually might be more harmful than not, because we don't have, the knowledge is not getting through. And so, I think that's probably another kind of big part of, what I consider really important to me.
Yeah, and I see courage there as well, Lucinda.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Let me try and expand on that, because I see courage to follow your path and explore. For me, I think it takes courage to say, hey, I'm going to go back to uni. I think it takes courage to say, hey, I want to be part of this Bar Council committee. Frankly, I think it's courageous to embark on a PhD.
Yes, I think that. Okay, yes, and I think that I agree with. I mean, I always started off my PhD with obviously, when I was thinking about doing my PhD, I sought advice from various people, and I read a lot, on the internet about how challenging it can be, and how it's, if you've really got to do it because of your love for it, for the topic that you're researching. And I think I kind of started with that, thinking, well, and to be honest, I kind of think back to my master's, and that's what drove me to do my master's. It was more the love to learn and for the topic. But there have been points along the way where I've had to remind myself, you're doing this because of, the love for the topic, the need to understand, and hopefully to make a little small dent, because we can all just, individually make small dents in trying to make change, positive change. But if we all did that and we all made small dents, then, the change that we collectively could achieve would be massive. So just reminding myself of that, because, I think what I read about doing a PhD is kind of all true. There are ups and downs. It's the reality of it, because it's meant to be, challenging. But yeah, just reminding myself of what the why you're doing it has been helpful.
So thinking about your legal career, what led you down that route of becoming interested in ethics and well-being? What was the way into that for you?
Can I say by accident?
Yes.
A little bit by accident, because sometimes I think whether it's me reflecting on my own life, I find that some parts I've just almost by coincidence I've found myself in this situation, and then I thought, oh, this is quite nice, I'll just carry on and see what's ahead. So I actually, when I qualified, I was a civil litigator, so I practiced in civil litigation, nothing to do with ethics or regulation at all. And it was only after about 3 years after I qualified that I was unsure about whether I really enjoyed what I was doing. I was thinking, when you feel, I'm not sure whether I'm learning lots, but I'm not sure whether this is quite for me. And so I was looking around for other jobs, and I came across one at the Solicitors Regulation Authority. And I thought, this is interesting. I might try this and see and that was my first job in ethics regulation in legal profession. And it was through that so when I say kind of landed there by accident, I mean, as in I hadn't planned that I wanted a career in ethics and regulation. It so happened that I applied for the job and then ended up loving the work and loving the kind of the nature of the work, and then kind of stayed there for a bit and then moved on to advise firms and organizations on the ethical standards.
So it feels like you've got a level of awareness about yourself and whether you're in the right place.
That's a really nice way of putting it, because I have been told. So my parents used to say that I'm, rather than it being an awareness, that I'm very stubborn. So wherever I kind of set my thoughts on, in terms of, say another way, if I'm not particularly happy in what I'm doing, I'll always think, well, life's too short. I need to move on to something else and find something else which is going to interest me. And so, so I do that. And I think it's worked well for me, because it's made me focus on what I want to do and learning. I mean, I don't think if I had just stayed where I was, because it was a comfortable job, it paid well, but there was something inherently, for me, I thought there was something missing. So, and if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have, learned all the things I've learned and met all the people I've met along the way. I think that's possibly the most important, because you meet so many interesting people if you just follow where your heart almost is saying. You should go down this path and just see what happens.
Yeah. Hear you saying it was a comfortable job, it paid you well. The response to many people to that would be, yeah, better just stay, even though they've got that sort of itch. It takes a certain mindset to explore, or perhaps it takes a certain stubbornness to don't know. I wouldn't call it stubbornness at all, but I think that I'm going to call it resolute tenacity.
Oh, I like that. I might use that next time.
How do you like that? Resolute tenacity. I think that will serve you well in your PhD as well.
Yes.
Now Lucinda, you know that my specialism is in ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. Just wondered if you've come across it.
Well, I came across it from you, because, as I'm sure your listeners will know, that you speak a lot, you focus on this area, and you deliver lectures at Birkbeck University, which is where I'm doing my PhD. And I think I was there for one of your earliest
Wow.
renditions of that. And so I was very lucky to be there in the audience. And so I learned it from you.
Blimey.
But obviously, I mean, I think I only scratched the surface in terms of what I know. And there's, again, I always say there's always more to know.
Mm.
So yeah.
Well, thank you. That question wasn't designed as me pleading for validation.
No, I know.
I couldn't quite remember if you'd been in one of the lectures at Birkbeck. But you know what? That's one of the most rewarding places to visit and talk.
Yeah.
I've never studied at Birkbeck. I was almost going to say yet.
Yes, you should go back.
I think you're leading me into different thoughts. But there's a special fondness for Birkbeck, partly because of people like Almuth and Kevin, and also for the learners there. The lecture I did in January this year, there was such curiosity there. There was such interest and engagement from people going, but hang on. And I love that because that helps me develop myself. It helps me challenge my thinking. It helps me realize that, oh, my goodness, I never realized that it could be landing in that way for somebody. So I do love my little trips to Birkbeck.
Wow. And they are always welcome, I'm sure, you know, with the faculty there. And I mean, Birkbeck currently has a very strong place in my heart, but, you know, even in years to come, it will always have that place in my heart. I mean, first of all, the faculty in the organizational psychology department, they are just all literally amazing people, like all of them. They're just the passion and dedication that they all show towards what they do is just incredible, which passes on to the people, you know, the students, because they see that these people, you know, they're not just turning up for lectures and not really wanting to be there. They're all dedicated to their discipline. But the whole ethos around the university, how it began, you know, the history around it, I think it's just very special. It really stands out compared to when you look at, you know, some other universities.
I agree. There's a degree of role modeling in the org psych department. It's like creating an organization, a business, if you will.
Yeah.
And people are mirroring the people at the top. And I think that gives it a special sort of energy and culture.
I agree.
I should add, for any listeners thinking, God, these two must be on some sort of sponsorship deal with Birkbeck.
No, we're not.
I can assure you we're not. It's just a place that is very special. Now, Lucinda, if I said to you, oh, you've got this opportunity to give some advice to your younger self, maybe Lucinda at school, is there anything you'd tell Lucinda at school from your viewpoint from now?
Probably quite a lot. I'd probably say just to be more confident. And I still struggle with that. I mean, with confidence and more specifically with confidence around not doubting yourself. Because even though, you know, what might have come across during this conversation is like, wow, you know, she's just had a job, but then wasn't that particularly happy or didn't feel quite right, and then actually was quite bold and went over and did her own thing. All of those were points where it didn't come naturally. It wasn't quite a fluid transition for me. It was always coupled with, especially the kind of earlier stages, with this fear, the kind of fear, which I think is natural, you know, fear of the unknown and not really being confident in, I suppose, in my ability to make something, or to actually give something back, or, you know, to actually do anything which might be of worth to, you know, helping others, which was always something which I wanted to do. So I suppose my message would be just to doubt myself a little less, which as I've grown older, I think I'm more confident, less bothered about, I think actually I was going to say less bothered about what other people think. And I think that is probably quite a core piece of it, because when I was younger, a lot of it was around all the kind of the lack of confidence, or the fear was around always. It wasn't really thinking about me first, even though I got there. It was thinking, well, what would other people think? Who would I be failing if I left my high paid job, you know, and actually pursue something which might make me a bit happier? Who would be upset by that? Who would I have failed in that decision? I think that's a natural thing to think, but if I was going to speak to my younger self, is probably think not so much about that.
Nice, thank you. And there's a traditional people soup question coming up now, Lucinda.
Okay.
Which is the one that people go, oh, people probably spend the most time thinking about this in preparation for an interview. But here we go. Your song choice. This song choice would announce your arrival in a room, whether it's a real room or a virtual room, not forever, but for the next maybe 2 months. But it would play every time, like when you entered the supermarket, when you entered your home, or logged onto a virtual meeting, a bit of this song would play. So what would your choice be and why?
So I did think about this. This was a question that did make me think most ahead of time. And I'm not sure whether I'd necessarily say that I'd like it playing every time I enter a room, but I do love this song, and I'll tell you why. So this is a song by Jason Mraz, and it's called Have It All. And I love this song, and I wouldn't mind it playing constantly everywhere, just because the words around it are really quite good. But it's the whole message that comes across with this song, which is to not worry so much about where life might take you. Think about, not necessarily wealth or success in kind of the traditional forms that we might consider them, but based on happiness and contentment and with life, continue learning. I think it kind of emulates what I would dream my life to be, and which I hope I am kind of emulating as I'm growing older with the choices that I'm making. But just to be not flippant, but to just live life day by day, doing what makes you happy in that moment. And above all, kind of there's a line in there as well around being generous to others and give as much as you can and, help others as much as you can. And just don't be afraid of walking the paveless road. If there is a road and it's not properly paved and shiny, but you feel that actually this is the road I should go down because it could lead to something, take that road. And I just like the idea of it being that message that comes across. I've probably not articulated that well, and probably if Jason was listening to this, he'd probably say, well, she's got completely the wrong message from that song. But it's
Well, Lucinda, let's just say, in case he is listening, let us know what you think of Lucinda's interpretation of that. Brilliant. That's wonderful. I love the idea of finding your own road and leaving a path behind you. That's it, folks. Part 1 of my chat with Lucinda in the bag. But fear not, Lucinda will be back next week when we'll explore more about lawyer well-being. You'll find the show notes for this episode at peoplesoup.captivate.fm or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like this episode, we'd love it if you told us why. You can email me at peoplesoup.pod@gmail.com. Now, there's been some changes on the socials, Peace Soupers. I'm no longer posting on Twitter, and I've retired my Facebook page. My confidence in both platforms has diminished greatly. I'm still just about posting on Instagram at people.soup, and I'm on LinkedIn too, as well as a new account on Blue Sky. Just search for my name. Now more than ever, you can help me reach more people with the special People Soup ingredients, stuff that could be really useful for them. So please do share, subscribe, rate and review. Thanks to Andy Glenn for his spoon magic and Alex Engelberg for his vocals. But most of all, dear listener, thanks to you. Look after yourselves, Peace Soupers, and bye for now.
If Jason was listening to this, he'd probably say, well, she's got completely the wrong message from that song. But, it's...
Well, Lucinda, let's just say, in case he is listening, let us know what you think of Lucinda's interpretation of that.